My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, welcome back. Today, zooming in from beautiful Ontario, we've got Sarah Coupland, who is an accomplished real estate entrepreneur who calls herself an opportunistic investor. I love that turn of phrase. And she's focusing on properties in and around where she lives. So remind me, what's the name of the town you live in, Sarah?
I'm in Coburg, Ontario. Little town. We're under 20,000 people. It's tiny.
So did you say between Toronto and Kingston? Is that correct?
Kingston, yeah, we're like halfway on the 401. Yep.
Very nice. So Sarah, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Can you give us a snapshot? What does your real estate investing business look like today? We're heading towards the end of 2024. What do you do? What do you focus on primarily?
So my business, I actually have multiple real estate businesses because as you start to build, I like control. So I sort of do a little bit. So primarily I am like a real estate investor and I do acquisitions. So typically I like to buy multi-unit properties that are undervalued, specialize in turning over the tenants, renovating the units, and increasing the value. So, it's all cap rates and operating income and stuff like that. So focusing on doing those increases and typically refinance to hold, depending. Sometimes like I have partners, if they want to sell, we sell, or, it's multiple exit strategies, what we look at. So with that, because I have multi-units, I also have a property management company that handles all of the tenant interactions. We also do property management for other clients in and around this area as well. So we have a portfolio under management outside of my buildings. And with that, I also have a construction company. It's called Rental Rehabs. And the team primarily does construction on my buildings because everything that I buy needs a reno. But we also do work for my property management clients as well, and actually are just starting to do work for other landlords who aren't associated with my PM company. And in addition to that, I also have this luxury Airbnb in Coburg that I rent out 14 bedrooms for events, weddings, and stuff like that. So busy. So it all kind of goes together. Yeah. And that was an opportunistic purchase. I did not intend to go into the Airbnb business, but I found my dream house and I was like, what else can I do with this? So here we are. So yeah, it's great.
You've turned your house into an asset, as Kiyosaki would say, right?
Yeah. And I do like little flips and stuff like that. So anything usually under 6 units, I'll typically offload, like purchase, renovate, offload.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So multifamily is anywhere from 2 to 2,000 and plus. So what's your sweet spot as far as the kind of properties that you like to hold on to?
Yeah, typically smaller, like in the area that I am in, like everything that I own is 20 minutes from my house. I am looking to change that because as my team's growing, I have capability to manage things further out. But right now it's I'll buy, like I just looked at 2 semis the other day that I'm looking to reno and turn into a fourplex, and I would sell that. So anything under 6 units, I would sell. And typically anything up to like, 25 to 40 units is sort of within my wheelhouse.
Interesting. So
as far as buy and hold.
You do kind of like multifamily burrs with anything like 8 units up kind of thing. 8 to 20, is that kind of your sweet spot? Is that what I'm understanding? And then you do multifamily flips for the smaller ones.
Yeah, like I have a fourplex right now that we're going through the process of, it's a complete junky place. And so like we're moving the tenants along and working through cash for keys and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll start that reno. And it's a fourplex. And when it's done, we'll sell it. Just finished the 12plex though. So, and this was like 1874 building and dealing with heritage and all that kind of stuff. Right back to, new studs and insulation and plumbing. We had to bring in new water line and electrical and all that kind of stuff. It was a huge project. And that 12plex, I'm in the process of refinancing. So we completely gutted that building. And that's going to be refied and it's going to be a keeper. So
that's very, very cool. So do you mind if we kind of poke around in that? Because I find that fascinating. The area that you're in Ontario, these kind of properties tend to be quite old. So yeah, you're coming into heritage type buildings, which, I have zero experience with, and everybody I've kind of heard about says run away from them. You run towards them. So kind of,
Well, I did on this one. Now I've decided I will not buy another heritage property downtown Coburg. Never is not a fun process.
yeah. So
But
tell us a
we're
little bit about that experience, if you will. I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. So great deal on the building because again, it's like a very much a don't want her building. Like the entire third floor had a fire order against it. There were raccoons, like you could put your hand from inside to outside through the brick. Like when I say it's like a junker property, like it was so bad. And this is, as I said earlier, like I brought my investors through because I usually work with investors, and I had an investor go, Sarah, I don't want to own this piece of crap, but I'll lend you the money to do it. So I'm like, okay, like, so it's like my risk. I can see the vision, and I'm used to dealing with old properties. Like
Yeah.
I've bought one, I've bought one property that's actually been like built in like, this century essentially, or well, going back like the last 100 years. Everything I have is like really old for some reason. And I just love, love, love old buildings. Like the house I'm in right now, my Airbnb, it's 192 years old. I love it.
Wow. Yeah.
But I've never actually had a designated heritage building before. So
Mm.
typically, like with the older buildings, I've done a ton of renovations on older buildings, and you just kind of got to know, like, you don't know what you're going to get into when you open up the walls. And so you build in that contingency, and do a little
Well,
bit of
and,
extra
and I
careful
imagine you
looking on
want to keep the
inspection.
exterior looking pretty much like it did, like you want it to have that
Yeah.
old look typically, right? But on
Yeah.
these ones that aren't heritage buildings, you can kind of do what you want on the interior, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And often,
bring it up
like,
to code.
old buildings that have been apartments for a long time, because like I'm not creating apartments, I'm buying old apartment buildings. There's been some sort of upkeep, but there isn't really a ton of, you can add some curb appeal, but like the buildings are what they are, and you can just
Hmm.
do what you can. And you might have some additional parging, you might have some, water issues, things that you have to look at for that. And so you kind of learn along the way what you need for heritage versus something else. I should say historic, because heritage
Mm.
is like the designation. This recent one, my 12plex, because I'd done old buildings before, I hadn't quite realized how big of an impact heritage can actually have when the heritage department gets involved. And
Hmm.
oh my goodness. So like just getting my windows approved was 6 months, and they got approved because I gave up. So it's this old building, 3 stories. It's got this like fire escape on it, and all of the buildings were completely like chewed by raccoons, wholly like completely falling apart, pieces missing. And initially they wanted me to repair them, and so I had to get like a historic like which company and who deals with heritage properties, and they wrote a certificate saying like there's no chance in hell these can be fixed, like. And so then it went to where they wanted wood replica windows, so I had to get handmade wood replica windows in the building, including along the fire escape. And I'm like, but that doesn't meet fire code. And they're like, well, why not? I'm like, well, wood burns. So I'm like, if I could put something else, that would be great. No, I had to have these handmade wood replica windows on the fire escape, and then we clad them in steel to make them fire resistant. And then we also had to put fire shutters on, but instead of putting them on the outside of the building because that would look horrible, they had to go on the inside, which they're not necessarily made for, and they're hideous on the inside. So I fought and fought and fought, and finally I gave up because like I'm burning money as I'm
Yeah.
waiting for this whole process to go through. So I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to pick my battles. Fine. So it was like 200,000 just for my stupid windows. They're
Wow.
beautiful, but
Yeah.
like, come on.
So you mean you gave up? So
Um,
you did it on the
I
outside,
did
or?
it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No, so I did the fire shutters on the inside. I did the wood replica windows, even on the fire escape. And like my argument is like the fire escape's there. The historical integrity of that side of the building is already compromised. Like nobody can tell that they're not wood windows. Nobody
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah.
Heritage cares. So a lot of roadblocks there. Also, I went and I put in, all these, I separate all the utilities when I do these buildings, in particular when they're completely torn apart like this.
Yeah.
And so we were putting in ductless splits instead of these giant 4 gas furnaces that were previously heating it. And there was a calculation error with my engineer. And so we went to install the ductless splits, and they realized the building didn't have enough power. The
Mm.
street didn't have enough power. So then we had to like go through the process of figuring out how to get the power to the bill. It was just on and on and on and on with this building.
Wow.
But I still made money, so it's good. I didn't make as much money as I wanted to make, so it's still like a win. Like I bought it for 700,000, like this 12 unit building, and it's now the valuation now is at 3.4 million. So, there's still a big spread there, but like I'm so glad it's done. And I'll do
Wow.
another project like that. I just need some time and I can go into it a little bit differently. I'll still do old buildings, but I will be very careful before I pick a heritage
Yeah,
building.
you want to stay away from those heritage
Yeah,
bureaucrats telling you what.
very tricky.
Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
That's a sobering lesson, that's for sure. So where you see yourself going moving ahead in the next 12 months or so, Sarah? What are your plans?
Well, actually, I have been very, very tied up in these projects that I've been working on myself. And so I'm actually looking to sort of expand. I focused on this one project, and I would
This the
really
12
like
unit you were
to
just telling us about. That's
the
what,
12 unit,
yeah.
yeah. And I've got this fourplex that we're doing, and I've got another the semis that I'm looking at, these smaller projects.
Mhm.
So I'm looking to do more quick flips. Like if you can believe it, it took instead of 2 years, it took 3.5 years to get that project to
I
completion.
believe it. Oh, for sure.
And I was a little bit cash strapped for the last bit of that. So I'm looking to be liquid, which is great. So I'm doing these smaller projects that I can reno, flip, sell,
Mhm.
so I can stay liquid. And I'm also looking to
Keep the
start
team
working with,
busy too. Yeah.
keep my team busy. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And also looking to work with partners again. So I typically work with partners because I can do a lot more all at once.
Yeah.
When I'm not limited by my own resources, and I like to help other people do what I do when they can't do what I do. Um, so looking to sort of expand, and with that, so looking at some larger multi-units, potentially not necessarily in my area. As my team's grown, I have the ability to manage a little bit further out and be able to take on projects outside of my local area. Like everything I own is within 20 minutes of my house, and I'm okay to go past and
Okay.
beyond that. So
Yeah.
that's sort of what I'm looking at in the next little while, and doing some more of these flips. So just smaller stuff. I think it's a great time to buy right now. Like real estate's on sale. And it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Compared to the
Actually,
last few years for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Going off on a slightly different tangent, but we were talking a little bit off camera before we started the interview about how you've turned your personal residence into a major asset. So I'm fascinated because if I recall correctly, you live in almost a 200-year-old house, 14 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, boardroom, pool, all kind of stuff. You're there right now, but you're zooming in from your the apartment that's beside the house. So tell me a little bit
Yep.
about that story because I think there's
Sure.
interesting things
Yeah.
there.
So I had it on my vision board. Like I do a lot of visioning, and I had it on my vision board. So by the end of 2023, I was going to buy my dream house, and I had like all of these things that, like all the boxes that would be ticked for my dream house. And I came and I looked at this house because it was listed as a 5 bedroom house, believe it or not. Because they didn't count all the rooms that they weren't using for different things, and like it needed a renovation. Like the whole
Yeah.
third floor needed to be renoed. This apartment that I'm in right now needed to be renoed. So I came to look at it and I start walking through. It's 192 years old. It's got
Mm.
this lounge. It's fully encased in wood. Like it's just beautiful. Lakehurstestate.ca is the website for it. It's just beautiful. And I walked through and I fell in love with it. But I was like, holy shit, like this thing is like, it's 14 bedrooms, it's 3 stories, it's 10,000 square feet. And it's me and my daughter, like the two of us. And I'm like, what the hell are we going to do here? But the people I bought it off of, they needed a quick close.
Mm.
So I submitted an offer. I saw it on the 26th of September. I submitted an offer and we had to close by November 1st. So I'm very
Wow.
fortunate for my connections with mortgage brokers. And so I made a phone call. I had the money within 2 days. And so I was able to close on it really quickly. And then I was like, well, now what the hell do I do? So it was sort of an impulse buy, but it literally ticked all of the boxes. It has 2 hot tubs. It has this crazy outdoor pool that's heated to 90 degrees year round. And it's just beautiful. Like the front porch, it's half a block to the lake down here at Lake Ontario.
Wow.
And so then the thought is like, well, now what do I do with it? And so we had a lot of renos. We had to do it was about 6 months to bring it up to standard and furnishing it and getting it all ready to go. So since I live here, I don't want to operate it like a hotel or rent out rooms. So I rent out the whole space. I've got 2 apartments on the side. They're both 2 bedroom apartments, and they're offered individually. They've got their own exterior entrance. People can come and go. And then the main
So
house
they're offered
has
as short-term rentals. The apartments are.
short-term rentals. Yep. So
Yeah.
the apartments are short-term rentals. So people come and they go and they don't have access to my house or my backyard, but it's on Airbnb. Then the house itself has 10 bedrooms in the main house. And so my marketing coordinator, Rebecca, she's absolutely amazing. Because again, like I don't have time to do all of this as well. So she's essentially running all of this. And so we had 3 weddings here this summer. We had an engagement party, a retirement party. Right now, I've got a real estate booked in my boardroom and they're having a meeting today, which is why I'm in this apartment because I've got little dogs that I don't want to disturb them. So when my house is booked and unavailable, I come and I stay in the apartment, or sometimes the larger groups need these 4 bedrooms as well between these 2 apartments. And then my daughter and I, we just go somewhere fun. And I'm like, if the whole house is rented and we're making money, we might as well go do something. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's great. It's been wonderful. I'm not yet cash flowing because the financing is actually quite expensive. So I am looking for another option to finance more traditionally. It doesn't fit into a traditional box though. Because I live here, it's owned by a corp, it's also an Airbnb, but I don't have 2 years of income statements yet. So like it's kind of tricky. So I'm still working on private financing with it, but it's wonderful. Like it was booked pretty much every weekend of the summer, and yeah, it's a great space. We have
At
fun
least
here.
it might not be cash flowing, but it's taken a big dent out of those mortgage payments or those finance payments that you have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We doubled. We opened in May of last year. This year, we more than doubled the revenue we made last year, and we've already got bookings and inquiries into next year. So I just feel, it takes time. And the more
Plus, you
people that
probably
kind of know
don't
about
want it.
us,
You
and
don't want it, the main house, that's where you guys live. So you don't want it
yeah,
booked out all year round. You want it booked out for
no,
weekends, and you want to know
yeah.
with anticipation when that's happening and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And for us too, like in the summer, like basically my daughter's done school mid-June. And so like our home base is our cottage anyways. So I'm like, you know what? Like I think we stay here 4 days from June to September, which is fine because like we're off doing other things.
Yeah.
So it could be fully booked all summer and that's good. So and when we're not here, it can be booked. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's a
fantastic.
fun sort of thing to be doing. And I just think this house needs to be shared with people. Like it's so interesting. So we have corporate retreats here too. Like I've got entrepreneurs organization. We have bookings here. People come and bring their staff and do executive retreats and stuff. So, and we've also built a lot of community here. So we've got caterers that in the community that the instructors. We had like somebody who brought in goats to do goat yoga and people who do wine tasting and team building events and like just like cool stuff that goes on and people bring in here and it's just lovely. I'm
Oh,
really
that's a
enjoying
lot of
it.
fun. Well, Sarah, thank you very much for sharing your experience and your journey and what you're up to and how you are an opportunistic investor. If our listeners or viewers want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to do that?
Best place is my website, which is just sarahcoupland.ca, sarahcoupland.ca. So through
Perfect.
there.
Well, all the best with your future endeavors and keep up the good work. This is great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.